This might get a little wild. I'm just letting you know. This might get a little wild. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, you are good to go.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so once upon a time, I was hiking this mountain and it was really, really steep and super intense. And it was going on and on and on. And I was starting to lose energy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm probably going to die. And I was reaching into my backpack and pulling out these snacks. There's like Cliff bars and all these other bars. And none of them were giving me the energy I needed to keep going, all these different drinks and whatnot. And then finally, I was there on this mountain and I was so close to who knows what. And suddenly, this magical unicorn dropped out of the sky and gave me a magical fruit. And I ate the fruit and it cured me. And I made it all the way back and then got this great relationship with this unicorn, and she started bringing me this fruit, and so I could actually make these bars. So I now have this incredible bar company called Unicorn Bars that are the world's best bars. Now, there's definitely a lot of competition out there, Cliff Bar and Luna Bar and whatnot, but I have to say mine is way better on taste. It's completely different in quality, and it gives you the energy that you need far above any other bar on the marketplace. And obviously, customers are really excited about this bar because it gets them farther, faster, and stronger than any other bar ever. Plus, it's made with the help of a magical unicorn, which is a big deal. The price is reasonable. It's, only $3. And for $3, you could get, a latte or whatever else, or you could get this magical unicorn bar. And I promise you that if you eat this bar, you will be able to climb Mount Everest and it'll be incredible. So yeah, that's, there you go. Okay. So today we are talking about magical unicorns. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, which is essentially entrepreneurship and innovation. So really excited to be here. Obviously, that story was fictional, but I was trying to share with you the basics of a startup pitch, where you would essentially tell an audience about your product or service that you are creating as an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship, yay! It has all of these elements. There's, developing your product, of course, branding, strategy, success, advertising, research, all these different pieces, and so much more. And we only have time to cover the basics today, but I'm always available if you want to reach out. My name's Ariel again, and I'm the Lane County Venture Catalyst with Oregon Rain, and I also have my own marketing firm, and I work for my family's business. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background. So I actually grew up on a hippie commune. There was a lot of people that were gardening and, into whatever, meditation and all these different things. That's where I was raised. It was a very unique upbringing, actually in Dexter, so pretty close to you guys, at the Dexter Reservoir. Anyhow, so I was raised sort of like granola, organic food and whatever, brown bread. I was always jealous of all the kids in my class who had actually delicious packed lunches that weren't like brown and green. Anyways, I went to college and studied counseling and psychology. And then after college, I moved to San Diego. And my first job ever was working at this company that was matchmaking startups with investors. And if you've ever watched the show Shark Tank, it was like that. So essentially, all of these big startup companies would pitch to people with a lot of money and say, my product is the best. You should invest in me and give me money. So suddenly, I like to say it was sort of like hippie kid goes to Silicon Valley, Wall Street type experience, where I was wearing suits and working in high-rise buildings and, in big boardrooms with super rich people and on yachts and all this like crazy money stuff. And it was super interesting, really engaging. And I learned a lot, of course. But then my family, who owns Hummingbird Wholesale, was like, hey, you should come home and join the family business. So we sell organic bulk food, and we work a lot with farmers locally in this region in Oregon to grow different crops, actually the Pacific Northwest. And then we distribute those products, and we have two giant warehouses, these two big buildings, and a fleet of trucks and over 50 employees, and it's quite the operation. So I came home to help the family business and quickly realized that I was trying to grow super fast and move mountains, and was on a trajectory of like, huge investment and big products and tons of money. And then my family was like, yeah, we work with farmers and we have warehouses and trucks. Like, this is not what you're thinking. And we believe in local and quality and small. And I was like, okay, this is hard and a lot different than I expected. And I started a next generation business owner group while I was there. So you can see these are all people my age. I'm about to turn 30. Oh my gosh, it feels really old. But this was 4 years ago. And if you've ever had Nancy's yogurt or coconut bliss or New Natural stevia or yogi tea, all these businesses are right here in the Eugene area, Lane County. And a lot of them have young people working with their parents. And I was like, how the heck do you do this? It's so hard to work with parents. So I started this group, and it was super duper fun because we would tour each other's businesses and trade stories. It would be like, well, my mom, well, okay, well, no, my brother. And it was just so funny. We would just crack up and laugh, cry, tell stories about being in business with family. So anyways, I was only there for 2 years until I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I want to go learn more things and move a little faster. And so I joined a startup making hazelnut milk. And these are the two guys, Joey and Drew. And they were right out of college, and they're like, we really want to start a food business, and we like hazelnuts, and this will be great. So we started the world's finest hazelnut milk, Hazel People. And it was great. I got to lead the branding project, and we're now in a few stores in the Eugene and Portland area. So it's pretty darn exciting. And this picture, we had just flown to, like, 5-hour trip to go raise money. And we actually did. We pitched our product to an investor, and we ended up getting a check. So we're looking really excited right there. We're like, yeah, we just got some money to start our business. So that was really cool. And I also like to say I have my own marketing firm. So I build websites and do different things for small businesses. And I have to say, this is something I started doing in college, but I could have just as easily done it in high school. And this is something I want to encourage all of you to do if you like building websites, because there's all these platforms like Wix and Squarespace and Weebly that are so freaking easy to set up because it's just a drag and drop system. They already have templates set up, and a lot of people don't want to do it for themselves. And so I can charge like 500 to even like 6,000. I've charged 6,000 for a website that was so easy to build. I could build it in a weekend and yeah, set it up for somebody. So I always encourage anyone to start that. So now I'm the Lane County Venture Catalyst for Oregon Rain, which means that I'm supporting small businesses across Oregon start their businesses. So it's really, really fun. I have sort of a wild, diverse story thus far, and I hope that there's many more chapters ahead. So today we're talking about entrepreneurship, which of course is my favorite thing ever. And what is entrepreneurship? Who is an entrepreneur? I'm really curious if you all have any thoughts. You could totally put it in the chat. But I'm just going to read this little blurb here. So, an entrepreneur is someone who is not content with the current state of affairs and decides to take things into his or her own hands to bring a positive change in the world around him. I'm just going to keep him, even though this is him and her right now. Positive change in the world around him with his vision and scrappy attitude while accepting all the risk and hardship that come along with it. So, an entrepreneur is someone who's just like, you know what? Things could keep going on this way, but it's just not my jam. Like I care about different things, and I want to see some change. And oh, hey, I could make this better, or, there's a problem that I'm solving here, and I'm ready to solve it. And I like that it says vision and a scrappy attitude. So you definitely got to have vision and think big, while at the same time being able to be scrappy, which is, of course, you know, like Joey and Drew, my two, the co-founders of Hazel People. They were like camping out of their cars and sleeping on the kitchen floor while they're making the hazelnut milk, and just, you got to be scrappy and accept all the risks that come along with being a founder or an entrepreneur. It's definitely high risk, but high reward. Okay, so I just thought that you all could quickly write down, what problem are you interested in solving, or what problem have you seen in your current immediate space. It could be right there in school, it could be in your family or community, and it could be sort of on the broader time horizon or the broader world. So I thought you could write that down sort of as an introspection. What problem do you want to solve, and what problem have you identified, or problems have you identified around you? So I think I'll just keep moving on because I know we're recording, but this is something I really encourage you to think about. And you probably already have quite a few on your mind. And this is a super important thing when thinking about this. It's important to be authentic and to be you, because if you're investing a lot of your time and your attention into something that you're not super into, it's just not going to last. And you're not going to want to work hard for something that doesn't feed your soul. So it's important to be you, and to also really understand your own strengths and weaknesses. And one thing that we talk about a lot as entrepreneurs is that you bring your full self to your business. So if you are risk averse, if you're really scared of risk, your business is going to be scared of risk. If you like to play it small, your business is going to play it small. And those things are great. Like, actually, it's important to be risk averse sometimes, but I'm just giving, different examples that you bring your full self to your business. So the more you can understand yourself, the more you'll be able to understand how to move forward best in your business, because it's a reflection of you. So I just wanted to give some really quick examples of some young entrepreneurs. This gal, Sophie Overton, she created Wise Pocket socks, and it's super cool. She was just, as someone who's really active and also someone who has her phone on her all the time, she was trying to figure out, a lot of clothing doesn't have the best pockets, and so she was like, I always put my phone in my socks, but it doesn't stay. So she actually created these socks with phone pockets. And this is actually the show Shark Tank that I was just mentioning earlier, the similar events that I was putting on in San Diego. My favorite and most local relevant example right now is a company called Bubble. And they are these two young guys. One is a senior in high school, and one just graduated last year, Nate and Mason. And they're actually right in Florence. And during the pandemic, they were realizing that there was a need for food delivery, and there was no real good food delivery option in Florence. And so they actually started a food delivery service. And what I just want to say is that these guys have hustle, they're super scrappy, and they're okay with failure, which is really unique. And I think something that a lot of us struggle with. And I think that's something that we don't often talk about or teach young people, is to be okay with failure, and that failure can be a great thing because you can learn a lot from it. And so anyways, these guys have tried to create this delivery service like 10 times. They started out calling themselves N&M, like Nate and Mason, N&M delivery. And then they're like, that word doesn't work. And they built this whole website and platform, and no one was using it, and it was really hard to figure out. And so they're like, okay, we're listening to the feedback that we're getting. Let's do something else. So they were pivoted. They can scrap and pivot, which is a really important element of entrepreneurship, is being able to move quickly and listen to feedback and pivot. So these guys have redone their app like 3 or 4 times, and they're just starting to get to the point where it's working, and it's so exciting. And they call me all the time and text me, and I just help them get connected to resources. But that's a really cool local group of high schoolers that are making waves in a community. It's pretty awesome.
I was just in a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce in Cottage Grove, you guys, yesterday, and they were talking about the fact that Cottage Grove doesn't have a food delivery service during the pandemic. Like, we don't have a lot of those like larger like apps that like DoorDash and things that really work here. And so this is so perfect that you mentioned this, because I just was hearing about how we don't have that here in Cottage Grove yesterday.
Ah, so cool. Yeah, well, that's a great problem to solve. And it's also something that the community can really get on board with. And that's something I'll talk about in a bit too, is having a strong community around you is really how to do it. You need some raving fans and some people that really believe in you. And these guys, I mean, I think you actually have a head start being high schoolers because, number one, you may be exposed to more relevant and up-to-date technology that some of us older folks may not be as savvy with. And then second of all, people just love it that you're young and that you're doing it. And so there's a lot of support coming out for these guys because they're just like, these are high school students. It's so cool. We want to help you. So anyways, I think you all have a head start. I just want to say. So they're obviously solving a problem and coming up with unique solutions. But the cool thing about this is that there's often this graph that's like, from problem to solution is this clear, nice line, and you will get from A to B, and it will look very successful and easy. And in the reality, this is the trajectory. It is crazy and complex, and you're trying lots of different things until finally you're getting closer and closer to the best solution. And maybe you're always iterating and you're always changing. I mean, Google, Facebook, Apple, I mean, all those people, they're always changing and innovating and trying to make their product better. So you could say that they really never fully made it or arrived at the optimal solution because there's always more to do. So it keeps going. So another graph here that I always like to show is we like to say fail fast and scale fast. So if you try lots of different things and you're failing in smaller bits along the way, then you'll be able to actually grow faster. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of small businesses will say, or a lot of students, or, actually not even students, people from all different ages have a really hard time failing, and they want it to be perfect before they launch it. So perfectionists, right? So I'm going to work really hard in the shadows and create this perfect thing, and then I'm going to show it to the world and it will be perfect. And everyone will be like, wow, that was so perfect. The problem is that oftentimes that happens and you show this quote perfect thing to the world and people didn't want it, or it didn't work, or there's not a market. And there's a lot of things that have happened even recently. I forget what the name of the startup was because it was so irrelevant, but just recently, a huge company tried to invest like billions of dollars into a short form video platform that was streaming similar to TikTok, but for adults. And they wasted billions of dollars and no one was interested. It was just like not relevant. So they just totally missed the mark, and bad idea, fail. So we always say, try and fail in little pieces. So the spaghetti to the wall test, keep throwing things and see what sticks. Hey guys, I have this product. It's only partway built. What do you think? Can you build it with me? And then your customer gets involved, and then they become raving fans, and then you're building community as you're going. So you got to fail fast and scale fast. Try lots and lots and lots of little things as you're trying to solve your problem and get people involved. So I just thought it'd be also an interesting introspection tool for all of you to think about your relationship with failure. So as a journal prompt, what do you think of failure? It can be a really hard one for us. But I think it's a good thing to think about because failure is one of those things that can really freak us out, but it can actually be our greatest teacher. So
I want you guys to think about these things as she's talking, because I know we're recording right now, but after I finish the recording, I would love you guys to actually chat with us about this, about your answers to these questions. So keep these in mind, be thinking about these.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, failure is a tough one. I really struggle with that too. It's funny because I coach businesses all day long to fail fast and scale fast. It's okay. And then when it comes to myself, I'm like, holy crap, I'm really scared to fail. I don't want to look bad, and I don't want to show up a mess in front of people, and I don't want to, give a half-made thing. But it's super important to do that because that's how we learn and how we grow and how we can actually build successful businesses or products or services. So just really quickly, I'm going to try and breeze through these fast. There's two parts of entrepreneurship. There's, of course, well, there's many more, but overly simplified. There's the making of the cool stuff and solving problems, and also the selling of what you're making. And so in terms of making, you got to get savvy with the numbers, and that's where math can be super relevant. And maybe you don't love math, but this is a very real world application to math, and business uses lots of math. And of course, as an entrepreneur, you can outsource and have someone else do the math, the accounting of your business, but it's super important to understand the basics. So of course, my hat making business, yes, I do paint hats. It's really fun. So of course I have the stuff. So I have to buy hats and I have to buy paint, and then I can make it, also utilizing my time, of course. And then the selling. Let's see if I can actually sell. So 3 important questions. Do I have a customer? Well, the cool thing is that every time I wear my hats, people are super excited and they want one. So that's cool. So there's definitely a customer, but I have to really go out and find them. And I have to see, hey, would you guys want this? Is this a design? And actually, this is my partner in the middle. And he was like, this is way too much color for me. I don't think I'd be into it. And then he wears it all the time now and he loves it. But that was great feedback. Like a little too much color for the guys, maybe. Okay. But I've asked around and I've tried to develop some cool designs that work for a lot of different people. So who will you ask? In the beginning of your business, who will you ask? Super important. If you just want to write down a few people that you could just talk to right away about the problem that you're interested in solving, those people are your gold. That's like the real money. That's the prime factor is the people that you can actually reach out to and ask. So if you can start making a list of people that, and I would love to be one of them. If you're happy to always bounce ideas off, you can totally bounce ideas off me. That's what I do. And it's really fun. But write down a list of people that you would ask. Do you like this? Does it work for you? Would you want this? Would you buy this? How much would you buy it for? Does this solve a problem for you? Is there a different way that it could solve a problem for you? So customer discovery and really asking people is super important, and something that businesses should honestly be doing forever. It never stops. It never, ever stops. So yeah, spaghetti to the wall test. Just keep chucking things out and seeing what sticks. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? Hey, do you guys like this? Okay, what if I did this? Does this solve a problem? And you just keep going and iterating, and it can be super fun and messy and not perfect, but also really fun and hard. That's what it is. It's really fun and hard. Okay, number 2, can I make money? So here's just some very elemental, but you understand. This is actually a profit and loss statement, roughly, in accounting on the next page. So here are my sales. I bring in $20 per hat. Okay, so $20, but it cost me $5 to buy the hat and $3 for, half a little paint container or however much it takes per container. That was a rough average. And then, okay, so my expenses are $8. So how much did I actually take home? Anyone? Very easy math problem here. I made $20.
$12.
$12. Boom. Okay, cool. So that is essentially a profit and loss statement where you're comparing your sales, your gross, with your expenses. So that's a basic accounting spreadsheet that looks super complicated when you're in QuickBooks or any of the other accounting platforms, but you got to see if you can actually make a profit with what you're doing. And if you're trying to raise money or get people on board or people excited about what you're doing, they're going to ask you, are you profitable? Can you make money? And oftentimes in the early days, businesses are not profitable. They're not making money because it costs a lot to start up. Like, let's just say I needed to buy a really expensive machine to print the hats and, all this other stuff. So let's just say I was down $3,000. Well, it's going to take me a while to, if I'm making $12 per hat, to make back that $3,000, right? So often in the first few years of a business, you're not profitable. But it is very possible if you're starting small and scrappy and you're just making hats out of your house, that you can grow scrappy and remain profitable the whole time until you're really ready to scale. And actually, that's how you sort of have to do it because no one wants to give you money on an idea. I mean, I have like a million ideas, and if someone gave me money for all of my ideas, I would be very rich, but would have built nothing. So the community and the world and whoever else is a part of your business wants to see real traction, to see that, okay, you actually sold 30 hats. Okay, I'm actually sort of impressed. Well, how many more can you sell? And if I gave you this and helped you with this, would you be able to sell more? So it is important to be able to show. So that's another thing. How can you make money? And is the problem that you're solving one that can make money? And if it's not, maybe it's going to be a nonprofit, which is also fine. It could be a charitable organization, or there's other ways of making this possible. But for a true entrepreneur, you got to also be thinking about the money and doing the math. Does this make money? And then, of course, where will I sell it? So understanding all of your customer channels. So friends and family are a great one. That's sort of how I'm doing the hats right now. But there's so many more, obviously, right? In this case, it's a website, social media. I'd love to get into stores one day. That's down the road. But you got to have a clear path or understanding of all the different channels. So there's friends and family, there's word of mouth, there's, the website, social media for me. But each business is very different in terms of all the different channels that you're selling through. So understanding all of how you're reaching your customer is super important, and how they'll hear about you or find out about you. So where will you sell? That is a huge question that I hope that all of you can think about as well. And what are your channels of actually getting your product to your customer? So that's a big one. Okay, so what does it take to be an entrepreneur? I've alluded to these things before. So you got to be really great with failure. You got to be super okay with working hard because, yes, yes, indeed. Working hard is very important. And I will say that when it's something that you really care about and you really love, it is work, but it also is worthwhile, and you want to stay up all night and do that thing because it's your passion and what you love. And that's really important. And there's also a lot of parts of business that you probably won't love. And the unfortunate part about being a small business, an early business, is that you got to wear all the hats, which is a funny metaphor for me. But you got to wear all the hats. You got to crunch the numbers. You got to sell it. You got to make it. You got to do all the things. And honestly, that's the best way to learn as well as you grow. Because then what if I want to hire someone to make the hats later? Well, I know how to do it. And what if I want to hire someone to do the marketing and interact with my customers, who are like my precious relationships? Like, those customers are gold, right? I want to make sure that I can teach whoever I'm hiring to treat my customers right, because this is how I interact with them, and it's super important. So in the early days of being an entrepreneur, you will wear many hats, but that can be a blessing and a curse, because it's really hard and you might be doing some things that you don't want to do, but it will also make you very well-rounded to be able to lead and guide your company later. Helping others is, of course, a huge way to build and grow a business quickly. So you may have seen, like, a lot of businesses these days, they give 1% of profits to saving the planet, or they have all these causes, right? You've probably seen businesses that do things like that. Well, another thing is, if you have partnerships and you can trade promotion, or you can both promote each other's products. Like maybe you've seen like giveaways on social media or something where there's like 10 different or like 3 different businesses that have all come together to say you get a hat and some sunscreen and a towel. And then the towel business gets all the other business from the other 2 platforms and vice versa, right? So all the followers that follow the towel business will then also be engaging with the hat business and the sunscreen business, right? So partnerships are super important. And I will say that business is all about relationships. You might be surprised. So as a young person myself, I always thought that like business and politics and all these like big words and topics were very like, how should I say, like uh like sterile or like self-explanatory or just very like I don't even have the words. But what I realized on and on and on and on every single time is that it's really about people. And I work a lot with local governments and it's all people. And then I think about the bigger government and I'm like, wow, that's all people. And when I think about business, I thought it was sort of like cold and robotic, but it's actually so much about people and connections and relationships. So the more you can be great at communication and building partnerships and bridges, the better you'll be as an entrepreneur, for sure. And actually, one of the biggest reasons why startups fail in like the typical sense of a startup, which is like, a fast growing, scalable Shark Tank type business, but there's tons of smaller businesses as well. But one of the biggest problems and reasons why startups fail is because of co-founder problems. The 2 co-founders could not agree on how to move forward, and so the whole thing fell apart. So relationships are super important, and being able to work with others and help others is always a great boon and plus, and will help you move forward much more quickly. Okay, another big tip is engage with your customers, like I've been mentioning this entire time. So what's wrong with this image? Anyone want to jump in and say? So there's a bunch of people over here building something. And
I feel like because the customers aren't like coming to you as well, like you're not meeting in the middle, it's kind of like one-sided. So it's like you're kind of forcing your product or whatever onto the customer rather than the customer coming and trying to find it.
Heck yes. Golden. That is absolutely true. So we think, like I've been mentioning, we think that we can just build something in the dark and just throw it on the customer and they'll be like, you solved all my problems. But the thing is, customers are people and they are very complex and different. And there's groups that have very different needs. And if we're not listening or building it with the customer, then it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. So one thing that we like to say is if you actually let people in the early days, like if you're like, hey, I'm a high school student and I'm trying to do this thing, people are going to be like, what? You are so cool. I want to help you. I want to be there for you. If you call me with anything, I want to help you. And then your fans, your customers become your raving fans. And if you have like 1 to 10 raving fans, and then they're going to tell their friends and those, you have a business in the making. So it's all about creating raving fans and creating those relationships. So heck yes, you got to build it with your customer. Okay, just a few more slides because I know we're going. So one thing that you can do is go to where your customers hang out. So if you feel like, okay, I'm going to sell this product and my customer that I think you can create like scenarios where you're trying to get a sense of who your customer might be, and you might be like, okay, well, I think my customers are between the ages of 18 and 35, and we call them customer personas, creating these customer personas. And they, are just interested in maybe having a family, and they like to shop at Whole Foods, and you can sort of like make these theoretical customers, and then you can see if they're actually true and accurate. But you also got to think of where are these people hanging out? Oh, I think these people are hanging out on Instagram. That's probably the age range that they're on Instagram. So if I tried to advertise on TikTok, I might miss them. So trying to understand where your customer is and then going to meet them. Or my customers hang out at the library right here in town. So I'm going to go literally set up a table outside the library and be there all day on the weekend, every weekend. Or whatever. You got to go meet your customer where they're at and speak directly to them. And of course, build your product and service together, like I mentioned. Yeah. You can do like surveys and polling, and you can do A/B testing where you like say, you could either have it look like this or like this. What do you think is better? And then you can get a better sense. Or like, even if you're about to build your logo, you know, you can say, this is one logo or this is one logo, or you can create ads online where one of them looks like this and one of them looks like this, and then you can see which one does better. So there's all these different tools and tricks to like keep sort of massaging what you're doing and getting engagement with your customers. And watching your competition is super important. It's always good to understand your competition. And that's one thing that oftentimes we ask small businesses or people that are starting, like, okay, you have this really cool idea. Are there any competitors? Are people already doing it? And when someone says, no, I'm the only one doing this, you're like, I don't know if you've fully done your research, because there's probably somebody that's doing something similar. You could probably do it better, but these days it's pretty hard to have like an idea that's never been thought of before ever. And maybe if you have that, the market is not ready for it because we don't know, like it's too far in advance. Like you're way sci-fi. Maybe the world's not ready for you. So it's important to understand your competitor and to follow them. Like hang out where they're hanging out and listen to what they're doing and see what they're doing. And you can of course duplicate and build on what they're doing. It's totally fair game to see what competitors are doing and modify and learn from them. It's a great thing to do. It's wonderful. And then, of course, be yourself. It's super important. People love people, and they, I'm sure, will love you. And more and more and more, social media is less about looking, well, there's still a lot of perfection and crazy fake stuff online. But I think more and more people are interested in getting that authentic interaction with you and being like, oh my gosh, you made that. That's really cool. It's super unique and you're you. Like that means that I could do something like that. So they want it to be relatable and authentic. So being you is super, super important and very encouraged. And also it takes a lot of bravery to be you and what you're doing. But the world needs you for sure. The world needs you. Okay, I'm just gonna super quickly. So these slides I'm gonna actually send to you all. And this is a pitch deck. And a pitch deck is essentially what you would use when you're trying to convince an audience about your business. And typically this is for investors, like if you're trying to bring in money. But this is a really cool exercise for you to just go through yourself. So I'm going to send these slides to your teacher and you know, she can show them, or she can share them with all of you and you can fill them out. It's just a great tool. And I give this to all my small businesses. So on the front page, you want to have an image that shows the product or service and, you know, the problem that you're solving. And it has your name, maybe your logo, and your contact information. So that's the first page. Second thing you want to do is open with the story. So it comes back to my unicorn story, right? I was on this really intense hike and I almost died, and a unicorn saved my life. Like, oh my gosh. And it's better than anything ever. So you want to share your story that directly addresses the problem. And then, whoops. Woo. Okay, and then you want to explain in one sentence what you do. So this is like your tagline, which is really fun to develop. So like this is a company that filters drinking, you know, water, like for backpacking and stuff. And it says, we make filthy water drinkable. Wow. Okay, that's awesome. We help surgical wounds heal faster. We help realtors find qualified leads, right? So you want to sort of narrow down in one sentence what you do. So I encourage all of you to play with that. It's really fun. And then if possible, show your product. So this is, if you have something very early stage, you could say, hey, I've been sitting out in front of the library and this is a picture of me doing that. And it's awesome. And this is, what I'm building or working on, or this is the service that I'm creating. So you want to really show something tangible to people because it's really fun to see. And then traction is something that I was talking about earlier. So this can get a little bit intense, but you want to show traction. I actually sold 30 hats. This is real traction. This shows that I'm not just bluffing. Like there really is a market and I have proof. So, I have beta testers that are trying this out and they say that it's awesome. I've recruited a co-founder or, some mentors. I have some amazing mentors and this is who they are. So you really want to show that you have traction and that you're moving forward and you have awesome stuff to show. And then your market, you want to show who's your market. So who is or will buy your product and how will they acquire them? So you want to show all this stuff. This is too complicated. I'm going to skip that. Your competitor, you want to definitely show who's in your space. It's important to say, well, there's obviously Cliff Bar and Luna Bar and Lara Bar, but I'm the best. Here's why. So the competitive matrix is how you show here's why. So you can say, okay, this is me on unicorn bars. Well, this is Cliff Bar and this is Lara Bar. So you can see on taste, deliciousness, all these different things, I'm winning on all these elements. I got all of them. But Cliff Bar only has these two and, Lara Bar only has this one. So you can create a competitive matrix, which is really fun to do. I'll encourage you for sure. Your business model, your revenue model. So yeah, I'm only going to make $8 on my $20 hat. And then I'm going to sell them online and I'm going to try and sell, 30 hats a week. So that's my revenue model. That's how I'm going to do it. So people want to know how you're going to do it and what your margins are, how you're going to actually make money. This is also too complicated. Let's skip that. Your financial projections. So in about a year, I'm hopefully going to make, this amount of dollars and we'll be able to leave my job and live comfortably off my own business. And I'm super excited. You want to show your team. So this is where you say, I have these awesome mentors. It's actually just me, but, Ariel's been mentoring me. And then I have these other friends that have been helping me on the weekends. And, I'm also bringing on, a social media person soon, which I'm really excited or whatever. You want to really talk about your team because it's important. People invest or are excited about your team and whether or not you can really make this happen. And then, of course, you always talk about your needs. You say, hey, this is what we need. This is, we're doing it. We're here. We're profitable, or maybe we're not, but we have traction. We have a real market. And we're solving this awesome problem. And we need money, or we need mentors, or we need space and equipment, or we need help with something. And then you close really strong and you say, so of course, when you're hiking all alone and you have that Cliff Bar in your pocket that just ain't doing it for you, I hope that a magical unicorn will swoop out of the sky and save you from all your troubles and you'll get home real safe with tons of energy or something like that. So you want to have a really strong close where you wrap it all up. And yeah, so that's that. That is essentially a pitch deck. And I am going to pass that along to all of you so that you can start filling that out on the problem that you're solving. And I think I'm going to leave it at that and just say that I'm always excited to work with anybody, especially students. It's a huge passion of mine. So I'm really excited to hear about your problems that you're interested in solving and see how we can move it forward. So